Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Matt, and this is going to be a little bit of a video on something I discovered recently with the Canon C200, which I'm holding in my hands right now. Basically, this is as I said, it's the C200. It's not the C200B, meaning that it comes with this monitor here, which connects via a multi-port on the front. It tells the camera that this is the sort of like the default monitor. It allows you to use the touchscreen autofocus function, and it shows you all the on-screen display by default. Whereas if you plug it into HDMI or an SDI monitor, by default you're getting a clean feed, basically. And a clean feed means that you're not seeing any of those settings or those on-screen displays, basically. What I did with this camera is I wanted to make it a bit more minimal for my shoot last week. So I stripped it down, just put the top handle on, decided I wasn't going to bring this monitor because it's not that great in daylight anyway. And so I put my Atomos Ninja 5 on this camera just to see how that would go. Made sure OSD was set to on. Really important as well as I had one of the buttons mapped to OSD on off. That just means in case, I want to shoot with a clean feed, I could do that or switch the OSD back to on. Obviously, if you lose the OSD and you don't have this monitor plugged back in, you're kind of flying blind, which is exactly what happened when during the end of the day, I ran out of space on my CFast card. So I switched over to MP4 just to shoot basically shoot a couple of clips in MP4, and took me a second to realize, but my OSD display on my Ninja 5 disappeared. I didn't know what happened. So I was here where I was troubleshooting it. Obviously I couldn't access the menu because I've got a clean feed on my Atomos Ninja 5. I went over, turned the camera on and off. I went over to the media page on the camera and I could see an OSD. I could actually access the menu and it said OSD was set to on. I didn't know if that was just for the media page and potentially the camera page didn't have that option flipped on. My shortcut button wasn't doing anything. I couldn't see what was going on. So I was trying to click the shortcut button and nothing was happening. Took the battery out and put it back in, nothing. So basically when I got home, I plugged this monitor back in through the multi-port and I could see the menu, and lo and behold, on the menu, OSD was set to on. So the whole time it was set to on, I just couldn't see it on my Ninja 5 recorder. Really, obviously not ideal, especially when I'm out shooting and I was just flying blind. I was just guessing what my ISO was, guessing what my, my shutter angle hopefully was set to the same thing, but my aperture, might have been different. ND filters, whether they were on or off, I had no idea. No waveforms except for on the Ninja 5. So it wasn't great. As soon as I switched it back to RAW, 50 frames per second, OSD came back on like that. As soon as I flipped it to MP4, OSD wasn't on. XAVC works. MP4 50 frames per second didn't. 25 works. Flipped it over to 24 Hertz, which is a 24p mode on this camera. Worked just fine. The 59.97 frames didn't work in terms of the frames per second, but 23.97 did work. So basically the higher frame rates on MP4 mode just didn't output an on-screen display, which is something I didn't realize until last week when I was out shooting. And it was a really good learn. Hey, Future Matt jumping in here because I did check the manual again, and clearly in my panic on the day, I didn't read it properly, but it does say in fine print on the OSD page, if you're using HDMI 4K over HDMI, anything above 50 frames isn't going to have an OSD, isn't going to show you all the different settings on that display. So thankfully it is a known thing that Canon obviously has clearly mentioned already. The good thing about this, it's only HDMI, it's only resolutions in 4K. So if you still want to use HDMI, potentially not doing a 4K output will give you the OSD again. And SDI should be fine as well. So I was clearly thinking to myself, if you own a C200B and you go over 50 frames per second, what happens? But thankfully there is a way to get it back, and clearly you can just use other monitors. I'd probably suggest using SDI anyway, it's just a better connection. Hopefully this still helps some of you who come across this video, because I know that when I'm in a bit of a panic, I tend to just search YouTube first rather than searching the manual. The manual can be quite dense, you can miss things exactly like I did. And hopefully this has helped at least one of you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.